15 degrees, you can see your breath. Out here in the lake effect, breaking tables like it's poetry. Where else would you rather be? Pinto Ron Elvis in the lay poncho. The members that you need to know. 'Cause once you out here now, your family. Where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather be?
Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nickel City Crew. This episode, along with all of our episodes, are presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker and StreamYard. We're so glad that you're joining us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud.
It's a vibe so ridiculous. Since 12 plus 83 was 6. The shout rocking like a symphony. Where else would you rather be?
All right, let's get straight to it. Really excited for tonight's episode. Tonight is kind of just the unofficial restart for Nickel City Crew. We told you guys we were going to take the summer off and do our own little thing and just kind of take a little bit of a breath and relax for a quick minute before everything ramps back up. And really, football is king. It takes over our lives. It takes over our late summers. It takes over our falls, our winter, heading into the new year. Joining me tonight, as always, riding shotgun, my co-host, Adam Dump Truck Rupsick. Holla at the crew, DT. How's the summer been, DT? What's good
Nickel
with
City.
you? How you
Nickel
been?
City. What's up? What's up, Rob? Good, man. Good. We're out here. We're in the summer, and the heat of it, the summer always just flies by. You know, this summer I was kind of looking forward to. I wasn't as busy as last summer. I didn't have as many weddings and golf tournaments or whatnot, but it still packs in just the same. And now we're back. We are always hesitant to talk about ball in the spring and don't take it too seriously. OTAs, draft, you don't really know. But training camp's our first chance to kind of dig in and being like, all right, it's official now. They're back. We're back. We can talk. We can talk real ball now, real team. And
That's right.
I always remember starting camp when I was playing in high school and whatnot. It was like the first day of school because you get back with the boys, you get back with the squad, and the summer's not over per se, but it is. The fun and the golf and all that is put behind you, and you're ready to get with the boys and get to work and go stay in a college dorm that they haven't done that in a few years, or out of their king size Tempur-Pedic mattresses or whatever self-cooling massage beds they have in their $1 million homes. They're in the dorms with the boys, playing the board games, getting the exit on the right to hopefully have another successful year. So I'm pumped. I'm happy to be back with you all tonight. And, Nickel City, we're back. Click, clack.
Click, clack. We back. Yeah, we are so excited to be here tonight. Again, presented here on BuffaloFAMBase, the official podcast network of the Bills Mafia that we simulcast on. And shout out to all of just the hashtag build the base, man. I came up with that hashtag and it's kind of taken fire. And I really enjoy the fact that all of my colleagues here on BuffaloFAMBase have kind of just wrapped their arms around it, because that's really what it's about, man. It's about, building the base, literally, like Bills Mafia, just engaging in each other. I saw DT before we introduce our guest tonight that you all can see. You all know who's here tonight joining us, for those that are the real ones. But like DT, I saw that there was the first ever Bills Mafia, Bills Mafia Con, and everybody was enjoying themselves. And I was definitely jealous down here in Charlotte. Like, man, I wish I could have been up there just kind of kicking it and rubbing elbows. And I saw a lot of the people that, I respect that were up there. And it was just the fact that Bills Mafia, we are a family. And I loved when I watched the highlights of the Bills during training camp that we're getting ready to talk about, DT. And at the end of it, the close of the video, DT was like, boom. One family. And I was like, that really is what the Mafia is. That really encapsulates everything that the Bills Mafia is about. It's the fact that we are family. Like we stick up for each other. We have each other's backs. And we are so excited tonight as we kick off and we continue season 4. Joining us, the incomparable. I had to make sure I got on my Webster's, DT. I was like, what does incomparable mean again? I'm pretty sure that means there's no equivalent. There's no equivalent. There's no equal To the lovely Robyn Mundy out there holding this down in Wyoming, Josh Allen country. Holla at the crew, Mama Mundy. We are so happy to have you back.
I'm like so honored to be in the debut of the season.
Yeah, we season 4 started a few weeks ago, but we took summer off. School's out for summer, so we took it off, and we click clack, we back.
Click clack, and you guys are, I'm telling you, going into your 4th year.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Love what you're doing. I did not know that you were the creator of Build a Base.
Yes, yeah, that was my hashtag. I mean, it's like watering a plant, Mama. And the more that we get the chance to integrate with each other, then what bad can come of that, you know? So I've seen a couple announcements with some other guys, from some other guys and gals that have come on to BuffaloFAMBase. I know that Circle Around the Wagons came on, and I know Sterling came on, and then just recently another crew came on. So like, we all need to be rubbing elbows and try to enjoy each other's company and figure out a way to cross-pollinate. I mean, that's my thing.
It is, and you're doing a great job. And to think 4 years now, T and I, because we have our little Tea Time Robyn podcast,
absolutely,
and we drop on Thursdays most weeks. Some it's a different day, but I can't believe it, but we're going into our 3rd year.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Somebody was asking me about DT and how we met the other night, and I've got some friends in town, and he was like, "How did you and DT meet?" And I was like, "Man, you would never imagine the story." And like I told him the story, and his mouth just dropped. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. But I just love that ending to that little clip, Mama Mundy, because they ended it with, you know, Bills are one family, and I just don't know any other way that's better to describe us than that. Because you're the official mama, auntie of the
I'm
crew.
Mama. I am Mama for sure. Grandma, but
yes.
Mama's better.
As we get kicking tonight, we appreciate everybody. We've already got over 100 people watching, close to 150 already, and we're just getting started. So we appreciate everybody out there again on all the different platforms that we're simulcasting on
and
tonight.
Hit subscribe, because these guys are awesome.
Appreciate it. We got that heat coming for you this year, DT. We DT's already talked about it. We got that heat. We got another guest coming up next week. We're going to keep the guests coming week after week as we lead into Arizona week 1. So let's get down to business, because we've got some nitty-gritty things to get into, some nougat to get into later. I want to talk about training camp, DT, because you talked about it. You know, we make our joke, DT, that click clack, we back, but the pads are not on right now yet, DT. And because of that, you know, you're supposed to take everything as a grain of salt. But I know that, you know, the Bills are back in training camp at St. John Fisher up in Pittsford. They do a great job up there. And listen, DT, I guess day one was, you know, the offense starts off with red zone work. And some people are speculating that, you know, maybe that was to build confidence and different things like that. And then they're spreading the ball around and everybody's catching touchdowns. Then the big thing out of camp that first day was that, man, these guys are celebrating every touchdown in training camp like it's the Super Bowl, like they just scored a touchdown. And I thought that was interesting to take away, because it seems like there was a concerted effort by Sean McDermott and his staff, Joe Brady, what have you, to make sure that, listen, we're propping these guys up. We're making them feel good about themselves, because nothing breeds confidence like confidence.
Yeah, and we're talking about changing the narrative, right? Getting over the hump and getting to the promised land, getting that ring. And last year and, you know, the year before of, you know, we're successful, but there was a little bit of dryness, you know, to the vibe of the team, and especially, you know, I'm not trying to take shots at Ken Dorsey here, but it was definitely dry and juice was out of the team when it was led by Ken Dorsey. So with the offense coming in with Joe Brady, they got juice, they're bringing juice, and they're sticking true to what they were talking about in the offseason of everybody eats. We're going to be explosive. We're going to be all over the field. And, you know, so I like seeing that day one. You know, it wasn't just something a moniker they were saying. It's something they were really digging into. And, you know, they want the juice. They want the excitement. And we talk about the family growing and the Mafia Con and all this. It's like, you got to scalp a ticket to go to training camp, Rob. You got to scalp a ticket to go to training camp. This thing is packed to the gills. The culture is huge, and obviously that's brought on a lot by Josh Allen and the success he's had. But it's awesome to watch that people are just chomping at the bit to burst through the gates and get out to training camp and, you know, see this team play with some juice. And and some fire. So obviously, like you said, you got to wait for the pads to come on, got to wait for some real deal to play. But I like what I've seen so far.
Mama Monday, I know the pads don't come on until Monday, but like I said,
I got my pad.
I know you've got your ledger pad. I'm just wondering what you thought, because I know that like day one, like I said, was red zone work, and then I heard about the safety room day 2, and Mike Edwards was back in the lineup, and before that it was Hamlin, and maybe that was a little carrot to him for working so hard throughout the offseason while Mike Edwards seemed to be a little bit banged up. And then today we've got day 3 of training camp, and it's Ed Oliver, which compliments of Day, who is a friend of the show, for compliments of Day helping him out, but Ed Oliver in the backfield being disruptive. So it was a situation where I guess Josh Allen threw 3 picks today. What's your take on training camp? Like, how much do you take from it, Mama Monday? Because you've been through more training camps than DT and I have. I always I didn't say combined. I didn't say combined. You said that. I'm trying to figure out how much to take from it, because I just know that when the lights get brightest and it's week 1 and we're getting ready to kick off against Arizona, that's when it's going to really matter. And who are the 11 on offense and who are the 11 on defense, and the rotations thereafter. That's really what's going to what people care about. You know what I mean?
Truly, I do. And I have a few observations to share. There's a guy, if you're not following him, Dean Kindig, TC Bills _Astro. This guy does all our draft work for the blog, for BuffaloFAMBase.com blog. And he's at training camp, and he gives some great insights. His notes are on our blog. Check them out. But I also follow as much as I can the feed during practice, because I like to get a feel for like trying to put myself there. And when people write, and they post it's interesting because you'll see 2 people post the same video clip of the same play, but they see it a different way. And
absolutely.
That's
different
kind of
set
interesting.
of eyes. Different set of eyes.
Now, I don't take much out from training camp in terms of scheme and that sort of thing, because they have very specific goals in training camp. So when you see 7-on-7 or you see 11-on-11, oh my God, they look bad, blah, blah, blah. I don't really recommend taking too much away from that. But and most of you guys, if you followed me at all, know that I am a former, in another life, psychotherapist. So my interest in the game comes from a different perspective, because I like to look at the behavior and the mental aspects of the game. And what we are seeing, and I will say this straight up, I liked what I saw from Josh Allen these first 3 days. And the biggest thing I like is the takeaway that the media has shared, and actually McDermott said this as well, that Josh Allen has taken his leadership up a notch.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's DT's thing. I heard that.
So now he's in meetings, and Brady, I think, said this, they'll put up something and Josh will stop the meeting. And he's like, okay, for example, and I'm paraphrasing, okay, on this play, this is what I wanted from you, or you need to be over here. And that sort of feedback is kind of new for Josh this year. So he's taken his leadership up to the next level. And I think that's probably as important as any takeaway that you get from training camp. And you mentioned, and you're so on top of these things, you guys. Seriously, it's so important to establish the culture. That's what training camp is about. Yeah, you're doing all the other stuff you have to do, and you hope that guys don't get injured and all that other stuff. But what you're really doing is creating the team.
Yeah.
The team vibe, as you guys pointed out, and it's so interesting. Oh, everybody's high-fiving and stuff.
The touchdowns, they're celebrating.
Yeah, it's a different vibe. And by the way, I have to say, I agree with both of you with respect to Ken Dorsey. it was like things were sterile.
Okay.
It was like you were in a room with no artwork on the wall or anything like that.
Okay.
Because this guy, I feel for the people in Cleveland. He's the OC there now.
He's not going to call plays though, so he's kind of the OC and OC in name only. Yeah,
that's probably a good thing. He's very smart. He's
Mhm.
very smart. But Joe Brady has a better connection with the players, I think, than Ken Dorsey did.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's
Interesting.
Mama Mundy's thing.
Interesting, DT. I mean, we've got an offensive show coming up in a couple weeks. So we'll dive into it, Mama Money. Make sure that you tune in
I will tune in.
do. Because that's interesting that you said that he's got more of a connection. The thing that I'm most concerned with, or not even concerned, but at least wondering about when it comes to Joe Brady, is just how much of the fact of what he did in the second half of last year really applies to this year. So that's really where I'm keeping my eye on things and trying to figure out, was he just running Dorsey's offense and was almost performing surgery, just making sure that we stop hemorrhaging because we're 500. Dorsey just gets fired. I've got to find a way to do something different than what my predecessor did because we're bleeding out, as opposed to this is really what I believe in. And I think that those could be two different things. So we'll be interested in be looking at that as well, DT, because I'm not necessarily sure. I don't know where to lay my hat on Brady. So I'm just a little bit nervous.
Sure. And it goes the same on the other side of the ball with Bobby Babich. The swagger and the step-in, there's more juice in the room on both sides of the ball, and that's clear. But the swagger and the step-in has to turn into production, and that's what obviously we'll dig into and see as this goes on. But as we talk, Josh Allen kind of taking that step, barking a little more, getting away from that golden retriever energy that everybody loves to talk about, becoming more of a Rottweiler or a pit bull energy, and to really set his tone and take this over as a team. And these coaches have to use that to their advantage, right? Use Josh Allen as a fifth coach, as a fourth coach, whatever it is, as he grows, use that energy to build around it. So I'm pumped.
Yeah. And the energy thing that you're talking about it's like different. It's different. We made notes earlier in terms of, we'll get into this later, but the dynamic of stress has changed somewhat. And I will say this about Josh Allen. In my observations of him in the off season, he is now settled. He's playing golf. He's enjoying his life. He's making chip shots that like freaking blow my mind. But he's got, his life is settled. And as we know before, his personal life was kind of up in the air and things were tough with gigs and there was a lot of stress going on there in his life. And we all know this, right? Like if our personal life is not in order,
it's gotta seep in. I don't know how it's not gonna seep in. But Nickel City Crew, Mama Monday, we have done a great job of making, DT has done a great job with me personally, of making sure that I stay off of that road, because we can go down that road because everything that you're saying makes sense, and it actually leads to some of the things that happened in that Cincinnati game. So what I hear on WGR all the time is, well, why was Stephon Diggs going like this and going like this, and he's got his arms out in the beginning of the game? And I'm like, man, if I go to work with you every single day, Mama Monday, and we agree on something and we've been working towards something, and then when we get to the presentation, you're not ready, I might react a certain way, and I might go, what the hell is going on? We talked about this shit all week. And I just, sometimes I don't think that he's given the grace, but it's okay. And I know
DT should be. And I know I won't go down that black hole with you either, but I will say this. I have nothing but respect for him.
Yeah.
And what he was able to do when he came to Buffalo. Yes, his circumstances with the Vikings were his circumstances with the Vikings. He helped Josh Allen become who Josh Allen is. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
He doesn't. DT, he doesn't. I know that you can't stand it when I talk about him sometimes, but I mean,
I'm with you.
The truth is in the pudding.
Yep. Okay, I have one other note I want to say about training
DT.
camp. Okay,
DT.
do you mind?
Absolutely not. DT's
Yeah, go
doing me
ahead.
like that on purpose. He's doing me like that on purpose.
Okay, so Milano, and that's something that is a little bit sobering because he's coming back from something called a tibial plateau fracture, which is at the top of the knee where it joins with the femur. It's
Okay.
very flat, and that's why they call it a tibial plateau. Well, when
Okay.
that thing fractures and you end up having to have hardware put in like he did,
Okay.
the recovery is daunting. I
Okay.
will tell you the recovery is somewhat along the lines of an Achilles.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so we have to be very realistic about the expectations
You
we
think we
can
should be
have.
measured with our expectations then for
Yes.
him?
I would not be surprised if he isn't put on PUP to begin the season. It
Well,
might
he did start training camp. I mean, he hasn't been
he can't
limited.
go on PUP then?
No,
Okay.
he did start
Well,
training camp
yeah.
working with
So you'd be on
Bernard.
R&R. But yeah,
Okay.
I agree. This is the first I've even heard of a description of this injury.
Of
We
tibial
never knew
plateau.
all last year. It was just a leg injury. We didn't know what it was. So
Well,
thanks, Mom,
they didn't
because I
want
had no
anybody
idea.
to know. And I think that there is a reason that there was a little truth to the rumor, maybe that they were during the offseason shopping him around. Because the Raiders, there was a rumor that they were kind of shopping him around, which, Bean is good at taking players and getting what he can from them
Before they're
a year
expired.
early,
Mhm.
and it's a business. I mean,
Mhm.
he's cold. It's a business. But that particular injury, and if you follow someone by the name of Thigh Doctor,
Okay.
he on Twitter, he's a great follow. He is a physical therapist, and he writes a lot about injuries and so on and so forth. But he showed a clip this week where you can see that Matt is having a little bit of trouble pushing off that foot on the affected leg, and
Okay.
that's something that will bear watching. And it's a serious thing. And nobody knew. I mean, they kept that under wraps for a long time, and I don't remember how it actually came out. But when it came out that he had a tibial plateau fracture, I just kind of went, well, that's going to be daunting to recover from. So that's going to be something to watch. So that was my other observation. Oh, and Dorian Williams, if he plays, he was lights out. He's been, I think finally the lights are going on for him. He's so physically
He's so
talented.
athletic. Yeah.
Oh my
He's so
God.
athletic. Yeah.
And if he gets his instincts right, and I think he is starting to like feel the flow of that defense, because he was like Kyer Elam, came in from a very, very different defensive system.
Right.
And the change, the adaptation to Sean McDermott's system, if you're not used to it, takes a little time. So Dorian, he struggled a little bit, I think, during his rookie year. And last year, I thought he was really starting to come on toward the end of the season. And
yeah, we could have used him in that KC game. I mean, even if he would have been messing up, because sometimes his flaw is that he runs to the wrong places, but everything he does is fast. And then the one thing we teach in football is if you're going to make a mistake, make it fast. Like,
make it fast.
we can coach it if it's fast, but the hesitancy is when you could really, kind of fuck shit up. So interesting observation, because Dorian, he's super athletic for sure.
Love
DT,
him.
any final, no pads on DT. I can only take so much from it. Any final takeaways from these first 3 days? I know Josh Allen threw the 3 picks today. I know he aired one out to Coleman over Rasul Douglas, so that was nice to see. But I kind of take all these things with a grain of salt. I try to.
Yeah, I mean, wrapping his ankles up too. That's this. I like to see the juice out of the gate. It looked like there were stars on both sides of the ball contributing. You're seeing a lot of different things going on the offensive end, and that's good because it's so unknown. So it's going to be good to see who can prevail and who the dogs are, who the leaders are. So kind of that's what I take. And, and today a good sign. I'm taking this as a good omen owner Kim Pagula out there on the field. And,
Yes.
the initial reaction was like, oh man, she looks rough. But from what she came from, sounds like when it was like a rumor that she wasn't even alive and nobody had seen her in the public for years, to be able to walk out on the field, I hope that gives this team some juice and power. And, she had the tenacity before all this happened. And I hope that, we take this as a good omen and move forward. So those are my takes from the first 3 days.
Awesome.
I'll be eager to see when the pads start popping next week.
I didn't know that she was out on the field. That's the first.
It was really emotional to see it because, like DT, I felt the same way that, I was like, well, you know what I mean? A lot of people are going to look at this and say that she doesn't look that good. And I'm like, but where she came from, you know what I mean? Where she came from, she's made a lot of progress. She lifted that hand up. Josh helped her out a little bit on that left arm, and she lifted it up to break down the Bills. And that was,
I hope they have that clip somewhere. I want to see it.
Yeah, I did. I tweeted it out on Twitter, so you can check my page as well.
It's on the Bills website.
Okay,
I took it from them.
That's so important because, and I know we don't talk hockey here, but even with like the Buffalo Sabres, she was so involved at every level.
Absolutely. And first woman president of both sports franchises.
Absolutely, and. Yes, both franchises missed her terribly. So if she's going to have more visibility, that can be nothing but a good thing and a good omen.
Absolutely. I agree. Now, as we transition, we'll always here at Nickel City Crew, Buffalo fan base, we'll keep her in our prayers for sure, for a recovery and to whatever that looks like for the Pagula family. But it was really great to see her out there. Tonight's episode is again presented by 26 Shirts. Here on Buffalo Fanbase, the official Bills Mafia podcast network. Again, head on over to 26shirts.com. Again, the Godfather, salute to the Godfather, Del Reed, running a great website over there. Again, portions of the proceeds go to a real cause. So your money is not going to just some bullshit or something that doesn't matter or doesn't mean anything. Any of your purchases there on 26 Shirts goes to a worthy cause of a family that's in need, whether it be in Western New York or across the world that needs it. So portions of the proceeds go to them. On your end, you're going to get a sweet ass shirt delivered to you. And there's nothing wrong with repping the Mafia and repping the Bills and repping Buffalo. They've got both Bills and Sabres themed t-shirts there. So head on over to 26shirts.com for each and every purchase. DT, we had to have on Mama Mundy for this discussion. Next week we'll have some more fun as well. But I just had to get into the meat and potatoes, man. I mean, it's a Friday night. We're back. OTAs are done. Training camp is here. DT, I had something that has been lingering in my head, and that's the reason that I named the episode the way that I did. I'm intentional about the titles of these episodes, and it was something that I've talked about in barbershops. It's something that I've talked about with my Bills Mafia little text group. I've mentioned some stuff in passing with you as well, DT, about this, but I feel very, very strongly about the fact that 13 seconds is still haunting us to a certain degree. And I can explain. What I mean by that is that every season for a team that thinks that they have an opportunity, they're always wondering when they're going to get over the hump. Now, some teams more than others. Some teams don't have a realistic chance. Your Dallas Cowboys fans get themselves all in a tizzy every single year, but it doesn't really necessarily account for anything because they haven't had any postseason success. But for teams like the Bills and obviously, like the Bengals and the Ravens, different things like that, they have different aspirations every year where, the Eagles, they feel like, man, this could be our year. This could be our year. And when you don't get over the hump, it kind of casts some seeds of doubt, to be completely honest, DT. And Mama Mundy knows that I feel this way because I'm trying to figure out how much has Sean McDermott learned, DT? How much has he actually taken away from some of these experiences he's gone through? Because Mama Mundy wrote a piece. And you might have missed it, DT, but it is on Twitter where Ty Dunn sat down. And he sat down with McDermott, and he had a chance to sit down with him. And it was just an interesting situation where I was surprised that McDermott sat down with him just because of the fact that, McDermott doesn't owe anybody in Bills Mafia, anything in that respect. And he's already got the statue if he ever can get us to the promised land. And really, there's a lot of people that already think that he deserves that statue. And we've talked about it on, his job for life. And does he deserve this job forever? We've already done that on Nickel City Crew. DT, Mama Mundy wrote a piece about how McDermott sat down with Ty Dunn, and it was interesting because of the fact that they had a kind of just a real talk, like one of those conversations that we would have, where what have you kind of taken away from some of your failures? Because you're dealing with an all-world quarterback, and anytime you're dealing with an all-world quarterback like Josh Allen, I mean, the clock is always ticking, DT.
Oh,
You
man.
know that my eyes are on this man. Like, my eyes are always fixated on him. And I don't know when that's ever going to change, to be honest, DT, unless he takes us back to a Super Bowl. I don't know when I ever feel different about him.
Not on my bingo card. Not on my bingo card to see him sit down with Ty Dunn after the piece that came out, and you know the
called it a hit
backlash
piece,
and the wave, the hit piece, and you know whatever it was, if you will, for him to actually sit down and do that. That shows change to me. You know, that shows kind of progress with Sean McDermott to me, because that's been his criticism, and that was the criticism in that article of just stubborn, old school, my way or the highway. And for him, and kind of to be characteristic with that, he would have never sat down with Ty Dunn and talked about these things. And he would have just said, outside noise, block it out. We're focused with what's in the room and keep moving. And to sit down and actually elaborate shows change to me, right? That shows that he's open and he knows the kind of situation he's in, and he knows the gravity of the pressure of what he needs to do to take us all the way there. So I'm not saying that's directly related to, maybe not change on the field, but I was very, when you sent me these notes and I looked into it, it was kind of good to see in my eyes, and the change of Sean McDermott to do something like this that I would never bet on him to do, because of the things we criticize him for, being stubborn, my way or the highway. So I hope
jealous of other coaches.
And change in regards to growing this team and the new age, the new look, Bills, if you will, and knowing what you have in 1-7. So that's it was positive.
Yeah. Mama Mundy, you wrote that piece and I loved it. I read all of your work there on BuffaloFAMBase. Again, Robyn Mundy, Editor-In-Chief at BuffaloFAMBase, #build the base. Mama Mundy, I mean, it surprised me. It did. I know that it surprised DT as well, but it surprised me because of the fact that I more associate Sean McDermott with building fences up and trying to find ways to fortify himself from criticism to the best of his ability. And obviously the success of the winning does much of the work for that building of whatever said fence. But I always feel like, after 13 seconds, he sacrifices to be the special teams coach, miraculously. And then the wide receiver coach wants to leave and go to Jacksonville. And then all of a sudden, after this last season, he fires Dorsey when there was 12 men on the field. That has nothing to do with Ken Dorsey's job description. So I always feel like he's looking for a fall guy. And we've talked about that on Nickel City Crew before, for the followers who know us. Mama Mundy, what is there something that we can glean into that maybe Sean McDermott is changing or learning or growing or all of the above?
Wow.
That's a deep question.
Yeah. And I have to agree completely with DT, because it was not on my bingo card either. It was totally not. And when we first found this out, that apparently, allegedly, Sean McDermott approached Ty Dunn at the combine.
Yep.
And can you imagine being Ty Dunn? Oh my God, here he comes. What do I
right? The principal, the principal's on his way down. Yep.
What's going to happen?
Yep.
It must have been kind of a fun moment for him, but it was on both parts. Ty Dunn to write this piece. If you know the work that Ty Dunn does, and he's an excellent journalist, professional journalist.
You're talking about the original piece. The original piece. Yeah. Oh no, he doesn't fabricate his shit. He did his fact checking on that.
He does, and he's an excellent journalist. And he did a piece one time when he was covering the Packers on Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
And that did not go over very well either, because Aaron Rodgers, he's so sensitive about everything. And so Ty has always been, the word I would use is brave. because he's willing to go outside his comfort zone
Yep.
because he knows he's going to get criticized. I mean, he puts an article together, a hit piece, like DT said, together, and it kind of was, I mean, it kind of was a hit piece. And
That's what DT says.
I agree with DT completely. But this hit piece, it's Ty Dunn's nature. He's sort of a investigative sports journalist. Like he's going to poke.
He's trying to get to the truth. He's trying. We wouldn't have known anything about Sean McDermott being jealous of coaches having the affection of the players had it not been for him. You know what I mean? So I
and Tim
agree with
Graham
you.
Is another guy that will sometimes write things for The Athletic that are quite interesting.
He made a great piece the other day.
Ty, in particular, though, is brave. That was the word that came to my mind. And really, so here he is at the combine, and here comes Sean McDermott, oh, what's happening? And what does Sean McDermott do, allegedly?
Invites him.
He sits down and asks politely for a moment with Ty because he wanted to discuss his article. And it wasn't from a perspective of, I want to judge you or anything like that. It was from the perspective, and you could see it if you think back to the time when that piece came out and McDermott was interviewed and he was asked about it.
He was mad. He was upset. He was upset,
but he almost came to tears.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the 9/11 thing came out. It was embarrassing a little bit.
It was. And you could tell that it affected him deeply. You could see that it affected him deeply. And so he was bothered by that enough to go all that time to the combine. And this is in the back of his mind, well, if I see Ty Dunn, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what is this going to be like? And what it seemed like was that McDermott legitimately opened up his soul and said, what are my players saying?
Right.
I don't need to know the names. I don't need to know the particulars. I just want to know what they're saying so I can learn to become a better coach.
That's right. DT, I mean, that's some deep shit.
That's the change we're talking about. That's the change we're talking about. The biggest criticism is stubborn, my way or
rigidness,
highway, old school. We're doing it this way. I know how to win. We're doing it this way. And so the change is developing and hearing the outside and making yourself better for that. Again, there's a lot left to prove. I'm not saying it's a complete change and it's changed, man, and we're winning the Super Bowl because of it. But that's the change. That's the main criticism. And he's showing he's looking to change that. So again, what else are you going to ask?
Wouldn't you use the word? It was courageous on his part to risk going over because he had no idea what Ty Dunn would say to him. Ty might have just said, go, screw yourself, whatever. But I think that there was authenticity between both of them. Ty Dunn genuinely wanted to tell him, this is what I heard. And McDermott was in a position where, as you pointed this out before, he listened more. And I think the difference is we have to remember Sean McDermott's background. He, in high school, was a state champion wrestler.
All right. And
in wrestling, it's my understanding that so much of it is mental. And the mental discipline that you have to have, and the focus that you have to have, and the belief in yourself that you have to have, and the drive that you have to have.
Definitely all those things are part of wrestling. Absolutely.
They are. And
it's you and one other person. It's you and one other guy.
It's you and me, baby.
Yep.
Down on the mat, let's go.
Yep.
And that has how he shaped his brain his whole life. He's been mentally disciplined, mentally focused, I know this is the way, my way or the highway, that sort of thing. And he failed. And
I mean, 13 seconds was as bad as it gets.
I was just going to say,
as bad as it gets.
13 seconds brought him down to his knees.
Well, I hope so. I mean, it had to bring him down to his knees. I'm trying to figure out if he's learned from the shit, to be honest. And we haven't had too many opportunities for him to prove that he's learned from it. But
We'll see.
This Ty Dunne thing kind of stuck with me, and because of the fact that it was definitely off brand, and DT is right about that. Another factor that I want to dig into before we wrap up tonight on this same vein, and ironically, it's with Ty Dunne again, because you're right, Mama Mundy. This guy does great work. DT, this dude got a chance to sit down with Bean and ask Bean what was up with 14, and you knew that I was gonna pay whatever Tyler charges, $8, whatever it was. He got me on the Bean, on the Brandon, on the Sean McDermott hit piece, quote unquote, that you call it. I paid the $8. Then I had to pay the $8 to see what he had to say about 14. And what was ironic to me, because it was really, we had speculated we were on the right trail. DT, you and I are rarely just completely off, but when he sat down, he had talked about it a few different times, DT, about how it was important to him. He felt that it was important to him to make sure that he got new players in the system that weren't a part of 13 seconds. Now, what that says to a cynic like me, who wants to lay everything at McDermott, and I'm looking for people to blame, and I still haven't heard the explanation for what the fuck happened that night. For people like me, what that speaks to is like, okay, so this is real. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't matter if you had veterans on there that were a part of it, and the Mitch Morses, and then, the safety brothers. It wouldn't matter if they were a part of this team anymore, because of the fact that your culture that Mama Mundy talked about earlier in the show, the culture's in place, and McDermott's going to preach it, and everybody's going to buy into it. But when you shit on yourself as bad as you did in 13 seconds, Sean McDermott, everybody starts to look at you sideways. And I would say that all the time on Twitter for anybody that wanted to come at Steph Diggs, and I'm said he started to look at his bosses sideways. And if my boss is fucked up in the biggest situation, I would look at them sideways too. And everybody I challenged to, you have to be able to relate to that. And DT, I'm just wondering what you think, because when I saw that Ty Dunne sat down with Brandon Bean, and then he made that statement about getting new, fresh faces, new blood in the system, they have no correlation, have no connection to 13 seconds. I said, okay, this shit really was a big deal in that locker room. People were starting to look at Sean McDermott sideways. I will contend that, and I really feel like I can rest my case.
Yeah, I'd have to agree there. I'd also say, man, we should do some wild piece. Then that'll be our opening. Just sit down and open our desk booklet, and we'll get Bean and McDermott on, and Nickel City crew will go through the roof. But in all seriousness, that is true, and that's what we went through episode of the miseducation of Stephon Diggs was. That's what we were preaching. Stephon Diggs sitting there and saying, we can't just run it back. It's not good enough to run it back and just be as good as we were. We need to have that little extra push, that little extra pop. And yes, to get people out of there that were in 13 seconds, but as well, that's, again, to take it in a positive note of not just running it back, cleaning out old, bringing in new, and not just running it back. So, I'm not saying, if Poyer and Hyde and Diggs were all still on the team, that we couldn't still have as much success as we might have this year. But the point of saying that of, yes, you're right, that there was, kind of maybe some animosity and
some the stench is lingering, man. Somebody didn't use the spray.
We've been doing this with this team. And we can't just run it back, as Stephon Diggs said. So we're not. Well, out with old, in with new, and let's create a new vibe, a new stench, a new stench that smells good. That isn't going to hit us 13 seconds. 13 seconds is going to burn the rest of our lives. A Super Bowl will
until we get it.
Help that.
Yeah.
But
no, it'll put it away.
You'll still think back and say, damn, we won a Super Bowl. That's awesome. But if 13 seconds had happened, we might have had two. And that's
I don't know. If I get one, I may not give a shit anymore. I may not give a shit anymore.
It'll be there. That's just the way of the world. But so I think both ways. Yes, Rob, you're right. There was probably some of what you were talking about, but as well as what Stephon Diggs was talking about, we can't just run it back. And he was a part of not running it back, obviously, and making a new faces, new change regime when it comes to that. So, all over on that point, it's something that this organization is always going to have to deal with. And until we get the big one, and it's good to at least know that they noticed that, right? Because we were saying they didn't notice that. Right? That was the problem. That was the criticism. And so they're telling us we do notice it, and this is what we're doing to change it.
I mean, Mama Mundy, I mean, I'm not looking for an echo chamber or anything like that. That's not what we do here at Nickel City Crew. But when I saw that Bean sat down with Ty Dunn, and I saw the specific reference to 13 seconds, that's where my head went. And I know that DT's trying to support me because he loves me, you know what I mean? But he's not even really on board the way he's trying to act like it. But
I'm seeing both sides there, and then
you see him, and DT is always rational. He's the one that's always talking me off the edge. Pragmatic. So I give him credit for that. Yes, he's pragmatic. He helps me off the edge. I looked at it definitely more of a shot at McDermott. Because I'm always just watching this dude. So I looked at it like, wow. Things went so bad that day. You never told the fans, and I understand that the coaches don't quote unquote owe us anything, but as a season ticket holder, that shit hurt a little bit more, and it burned a little bit more. I'll be honest with you, Mama Mundy, and DT felt the same way, because all of Bills Mafia that happened to be season ticket holders, we still don't have any type of resolution over really what happened, and then all of Bills Mafia never got any type of explanation because they didn't really want to talk about it afterwards. The one special teams coordinator got fired, and then that was pretty much it. Everybody just kind of just brushed it away. And I felt like 14 was catching a lot of flack because he wasn't over that shit. And then because he wasn't over that shit, and because he wouldn't shut up about it, I've been told that many times throughout my life, because I can be a dog on a bone with some things. If I know something is wrong, my mother taught me, like, call out bullshit. Like, I mean, now she wouldn't cuss, but she would say, if somebody is disrespecting you, somebody is not giving you your fair just due, you need to call it out on any stage, whether it be a professional level, a friendship level, relationships, whatever the case may be. Call it out if you're not getting what you need to be, what you deserve to be getting. Man, I think that 14 caught a lot of flack because he was like looking around, what the fuck is going on around here? And it made people uncomfortable, where maybe they felt like they had to get rid of him.
Good. But making people uncomfortable is not a bad thing.
Yeah, well,
no. I mean, but I think his message.
Josh Allen
he was a victim of his message. He was a victim of his message.
Interesting.
We can't just run it back. We have to move on. We got to get better. We can't run it back. And he was a part of that. They came to a decision as a team of we are going to be better without you. They wouldn't get rid of him if they didn't think they'd be better without him.
And eat $30 million.
At some point,
$30 million,
right?
yeah.
So he's a victim. He's a victim of his own preaching. And I wouldn't say victim. I mean, he moved on. Good, whatever. Good for him. I hope the Texans go 7-10, and whatever. But he preached we can't just run it back. They listened and didn't run it back. Got rid of him.
Interesting. And Josh Allen needs to step up then, Mama Mundy, right? Because this is his time. This is his time to be the leader. That's what DT always says here on Nickel City Crew. It's time for him to step into that leadership role full bore.
Full bore. And as I said, I don't think that he would be the quarterback that he is without the experience that he had with Diggs.
Absolutely not.
And
absolutely not.
People want to choose to look at Diggs' behavior in a certain way. But I'll just say what I think, and that's that I agreed with Diggs.
Yeah.
I agreed with him at the time. I was like, what? He's telling the truth, right? He was telling his truth, and it was the truth. And it caused a lot of people to feel uncomfortable because he says what he thinks. And anybody that knows me or has known me for any length of time knows that that's the way that I roll. And I had a deep appreciation for what Diggs did in terms of promoting not only Josh's maturity as a leader, because he had to step up and be a leader. So did Sean McDermott in terms of how did you handle Diggs? And yeah, he went out, but I would say, and Bean kind of alluded to this, that it was a mutual parting that was not negative. People want to think that it was, Diggs left and he was mad and blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. I think he saw that his role, that he came in, he helped Josh become who Josh
Bingo.
is.
Yes.
And then now
It had ran its course, man. It ran its course. I elevated this dude. I was the #1 receiver reception-wise for 4 years combined.
Yes.
What else do y'all want from me, man? Let me go back down to Texas with my peoples because I'm not really feeling this shit anymore. I'm not really on McDermott. Whatever he's preaching, I'm not really on it anymore. He talked about it when he came back from camp, when they were all mad the day that he got sent home, and none of us knew that he got sent home because Sean McDermott said, I'm very concerned that he wasn't there, even though he neglected to tell us, DT, that he was actually sent home. And then what did he say the next day? Oh, we had productive conversations. We had great conversations, and we just thought there was time to just break for the day. Like, he didn't want us to know that unless we found out that shit. It was because his agent had said something. So I feel like Diggs had been making people uncomfortable around one's Bills drive after 13 seconds. And that's why I named the episode the way that I did.
Then see it. You made too uncomfortable. Ran its course, done. I'm done with Diggs. I'm done with it. I agree.
His role was like Don Granato.
I'm not gonna sit here and suck him off. Like, he did his thing. I like what he did to us, and he made Josh Allen, but he needed to go.
He wanted to go. He wanted to go.
And he wanted to go.
So he needed to go. The team needed to move on without him.
I can finally agree with that, because I think that it is important to get fresh blood. I think that is a real thing. I do think that is a real thing. As a coach of youth sports, I think that it's a real thing. Anytime that you've gone through adversity, it's good when you're in youth sports, because there's a whole new batch of 10-year-olds coming in. There's a whole new batch of 11 and 12-year-olds, and I coach basketball, and it's always great because these kids don't have anything to do with the fuck-ups from last year and anything that it was on me. And I grow as a coach each year because I find out ways to learn from my mistakes from last year, where we shouldn't have ran the lineup this heavy. And, it's youth sports, so everybody's got to play. So maybe I split up my best players instead of just having a stacked lineup. And then, in the second quarter, I'm getting blown out every second quarter because all my worst kids are in. So I have to grow. I have to figure out ways. So my thing, and back to the original point as we wrap up tonight, DT, was I know that you're done with the Stefon Diggs talk, and we're done with it now that camp is on. I just want to know, has the coach learned anything from this whole situation? Because we don't know what happened in 13 seconds. They will never tell us unless somebody is retired. And again, I don't forgive him for it until we get to the Super Bowl. I don't necessarily. If we win the Super Bowl, I won't care about 13 seconds, and that's just me personally as a fan. Yes, we could have had more, but I can't be greedy when we've been to 4 in a row and we lost them all, and I cried my eyes out for 2 of them. Super Bowl 25 wide right, I cried my eyes out, and then we get pounded 52-17, and I cried my eyes out. Like, I was 5, 6, 7, and 8. I won't be greedy. We get 1 Super Bowl, I won't give a shit. Until we get it, the stench is lingering. And it's in the air, and their own GM acknowledged it by saying, I thought it was important to bring some guys in that weren't a part of that shit anymore. And that means that people still remember. And whether Stefon Diggs is gone and he's the only one, he's not the only one that still remembers, because Josh Allen was a part of that damn fiasco, and he put on the greatest performance that we've ever seen from a quarterback. He outplayed Mahomes and has nothing to show for it. So don't tell me that it doesn't mean anything. And I know that you're not, DT, but as we wrap up, we could be done talking about 14 because now he's on a different team. But the stench still lingers in my mind, and I thought that the GM admitted as much. That's all. As we wrap up tonight, that's all. I thought he admitted that it was important to get new guys in, because I don't want anybody that knew how bad Sean McDermott fucked up that night. That was bad. It was epic. That's at least one Super Bowl.
But we have been talking about the growth and the change, and we would never think McDermott would sit down and talk to Ty Dunn. And on the other side of saying there had to be new faces in, we couldn't just run it back. So we're hoping that this is an agent of change and a move of change of, yes, we're not lying. We know this is this is a
history
dot in our history, a stench in our history. But we have to move on from it, and maybe moving on is changing some personnel around, and that'll be enough to give us enough juice to roll into the next level and get it out of our minds for good.
Done.
Yeah, be done with it. Absolutely. Mama Mundy, we love when we have you on. We love just your input. I know that I personally just have such an affection for your writing, your you're just your acumen. I just love it. So I know that we've had a great time having you on tonight, and we really think thank you for taking some time out.
I will come anytime. You guys are the bomb. This is like the Nickel City crew. You guys got it. You guys got it going. And you and DT are two of my favorite people in the world. I love you guys so much.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it, Mama Mundy. Again, check her out at Robyn Mundy, ROBYN Mundy, WYO, right on Twitter, Instagram. Check her out, please, because she is the shit, and she is the resident mama of the crew.
I'm silly.
DT, yes, you are. DT. I know you done. I know you ain't got to get mad at me, player. You my man. I mean, I know you done talking about Stefan. We ain't gonna talk about his ass all season long. It's over now. That was the last. Yeah, we good. I mean, shit, you ain't got to come for my head. So I named the episode the way I did because that shit is still lingering, and I just don't want. I want Bills Mafia to embrace every season. Everybody keeps telling me to embrace the new season and embrace the new opportunity. Maybe this wide receiver by committee is going to work. And next week, we've got a special guest on as well, DT. We're going to talk about offense, and then we'll go to defense the following week, and we'll just keep it moving. And maybe this wide receiver by committee works. I mean, some people just misconstrue me. I feel like I'm Dennis Rodman. I feel like I'm misunderstood. Like, I want the Bills to win a Super Bowl. I want everything that they do to work, but I have got to be critical when I see shit that doesn't work. And I'm just not exactly sure about this wide receiver by committee. That's all. I thought we could have waited one more year to get rid of him. That's all.
And then, but I'm seeing the beam as moving forward in a positive way, right? We can't run it back, so we're moving forward. People that weren't a part of 13 seconds moving forward for a positive reason, right? So
absolutely.
That's where we go.
They've got no ties. You have no scars if you've got no ties. If you've never been in an accident, you don't have any scars. There were a lot of scars. A lot of guys that had scars are now out of the building. Micah Hyde probably will retire. We've got Jordan Poyer down in Miami. We've got Tre'Davious White in LA. That's weird to look at. I know Mitch Morse is down in Jacksonville. So you're absolutely right. A lot of those guys that have those scars from the 13-second, that stench. Somebody need to grab the air freshener and spray. That bathroom is fucked up. It's Friday too. Like, you know what I mean? When the dads say don't go in here for another 35, 45 minutes. Like, somebody got to spray that bathroom out. And I'm down with it, man. I'm down with it, DT. I'm down with it. You ain't got to get mad at me. I'm down with it.
Never mad.
I love it, man. As always out there, spread love, not hate. These were my Bills thoughts said out loud. Hit them with a Go Bills. We will be back at you, Nickel City crew, next week, next Thursday. We are back to our regularly scheduled program. We thank, again, Mama Mundy tonight helping us out on a Friday, but we're back at it next week. I mean, we're going to keep hitting y'all as we get approaching to the regular season in Arizona, and then it's just get on the roller coaster ride and up the mountain we go, and we'll see where it takes us, man. I'm down with it. Hit them with a Go Bills.
Go Bills. Go Bills.
Training camp. Click clack. We back the pads on next week. Let's get it. I love it.